Hello gamers, it is the first day of Thanksgiving break, and do you know what that means? That means I'm going to drop everything and customize the doll for y'all. Woo! I've been dying to do an art custom for a while, and yeah, it's actually happening. So I pulled this beautiful little monstrosity out of Jupiter's nest, and here she is. I'm excited. I don't know what to say for this intro, just that I'm gonna be trying some new things and I'm really excited, and anyways, cut to the concept art. Let's go, gamers. Hi, hello. Y'all saw the title. Today, I'm gonna be making a doll inspired by a game I grew up on and still play today, Wizard101. More specifically, the world of, drumroll please, Chrysalis. I've always kind of been drawn to this world, and even if I don't remember it the best lore-wise, I've always been in love with the aesthetics, and like, Chrysalis just felt like a breath of fresh air coming out of Azteca. So, I don't know, maybe that's why I'm more in love with it. I don't know. I've had this Mousey King doll sitting in my stock box for quite a while, and I realized she would be perfect for this. She fits right in with the Burrowers, and she always gave me the vibes of some kind of mouse mage in training. So, that's exactly what we're gonna make her. Way before jumping in on this doll, I visited some NPCs to try to get some inspiration for her outfit. After some studying, I drew this concept art up. Now that I've got a bit of a plan settled, it's time we get to work. We start with our preliminary mutilations, wiping off the default paint on both the face and ears using nail polish remover. Then we take off the hair so that we have a clean base to work with. Now, while this doll is going to be very costume heavy, it's not going to be without a little bit of experimentation. I want to try out some body modding. There's an issue with Monster High dolls. They all got feet like this, built solely for high heels. This character, I imagine, will be walking barefoot most, if not all of the time, so this won't fly. So, we're going to give her some flat, mousier feet. It'll also be a plus because mutilated Mousades here is already shorter than your average Monster High doll, and taking away that bit of extra height will help her be much more believable as a burrower. So first, I bring in some cats to watch this experimental chaos, and then I hack away at the ankles. I readjust the feet a little, using hot glue to hold them in place. Then, I use some epoxy sculpt to fill in the gaps, and try to give her some large, hopefully mouse-like feet. The left foot was looking beautiful right off the bat, though I was having some trouble with the foot falling off on the right. I end up just blocking out some shapes over there and reinforcing the ankle. It wasn't until the first pass already dried that I noticed that I unintentionally faced the feet too inward. They don't look right unless the doll's legs are turned outward a little. No matter though, she still looks cute. I guess she's just a little bow-legged. Anywho, on to the next pass. Here, I try to finish off the silhouette of the right foot and bulk up the area where the epoxy meets the plastic. This is both for extra support and so I can use the sculpted fur tuft to try to blend in what I've made into the rest of the doll. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of me doing that part, so you're seeing it all after the fact. Now, that epoxy needs 24 hours to fully cure, so let's work on the clothes. First, I mark and cut out the pattern here for the shirt. I'm using this nice textured fabric from some old clothes. I think I got this pattern from Pop Atelier. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. I'll try to find the precise video of hers I got it from, and I'll link it below. I accidentally made my markings on the good side of the fabric, but I think I can work around it. Anyways, just gotta sew this up, and done. I also added a little hem around the cuffs and the neckline. Works well, I think. Before this shirt can be truly done, though, I have to add some clips to the back. Now we're done. And now we're working on the skirt. At first I was intimidated by how complex it might be, but I found a convenient solution. First, I measured the doll to see what length I need for the look I want to achieve. This turned out to be 2.5 inches to me, but I went ahead and made it 3 to leave room for the hem I'll be sewing. Then I cut off an old pant leg at 3 inches. I take off and fix up anything I don't want on my skirt, like this button, or sewing up this large slit in the side. Next, I make a hem on the top edge I just cut, and sew some elastic thread through it. Perfect! Now to make the vest. To start off, I doctored this one pattern, ironically from a Pirate 101 inspired custom, a rogue battle angel named Knight. Funny how that works out. Anyways, I mainly just tried to shrink down the size a little and hope that the vest wouldn't be too loose. I cut out 3 pieces of fake leather I got at Walmart forever ago and sewed them into a very vesty shape. Then I turned it inside out and put it on, and now we have a vest! The original jacket for Knight had a bit of extra room in the back because some magnets are embedded in her back. I didn't change the width any, but it fits just right here. Probably had to do with the fabric from the shirt filling it out a bit. Those feet have had way more than 24 hours to cure now, so let's get back to those. First, I sand them down a bit to try to get rid of any seams my earlier self didn't smooth out. I lost my rougher grain sandpaper block, so I replaced it with a block of pumice from the bathroom. Very effective, and it smells really nice. Unfortunately, while doing the right foot, I had the ankle snap again. So my plan is to try to finish sanding out everything and patch it back up with Gorilla Epoxy. So let's do that. Before my fix, I finished smoothing out the shapes with a finer grain of sandpaper. Now she needs some toes. Make some little indentations with a knife, slowly widening and lengthening the cuts. I use my sandpaper block to help smooth it out. Now that that's done, I mix some Gorilla Epoxy and add a tiny amount to the leg. Then I gently swish the foot back into place, and now we gotta wait for that to cure. And all better. Now we finally add the paint. I mix some black and white I have lying around, getting as close to our mousy girl skin tone as we can. Shortly after, I coat the feet in a thin layer of paint. I honestly think I should have sprayed down a layer of sealant on them beforehand, but it'll probably be okay. Yeah, probably. Before another layer of paint, I spray on a layer of sealant. I go ahead and do this one on both the lower legs and the face, and then another layer of paint. After studying my 2 lovely references here, I decided to forego the blush with this doll, instead jumping right in with my watercolor pencils. I tried to mimic a couple of other things I saw in my references, including the purple tinted eyelids and thick eyebrows. I was split between green and blue eyes, so I went for this color kind of in the middle. I also decided to build up some brown for the pupils, since I figured it'll look better than just a solid black. I build this up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 4th layer, I accidentally sprayed too much sealant on the left side of her face. It left a little bit of white at the bottom of her eye. Oddly enough, this kind of helps with the eye whites. Not much the pupil and iris, though. I try my best to work around it. The show must go on. On the 6th layer, I decided it's time to bust out some paints. I normally don't like working with paint, see Violet over here, but I wanted to really make her features pop more. I found these tiny mascara brushes from my mom's makeup stash, so I used those to help me with the really precise detail things. They work perfectly. Before spraying our final layer of sealant, I decided to break out the pastels after all. I imagine our girl here to be well-traveled, those big mouse feet taking her all over the countryside. So of course, she's gonna have a little bit of dirt on her legs from her travels. This was partially meant to add a bit more interest to the body, and partially to cover up the little spots where my paint job wasn't perfect. I can't tell if the end result is a bit too excessive, but I think it looks good. Now, I normally use Tesser's Dull Coat on all my customs, because it's been easier to order off of Amazon in the past. It has this weird effect though. With too many layers, it makes it too glossy, and sometimes gives projects this weird texture kind of reminiscent of scales. Luckily, I didn't get it too bad here, but it's still a problem to watch out for. Recently, I managed to snag a can of MSC cheap though, and thought maybe it might help tone down the gloss. After letting the MSC dry, I don't really think it made a difference. At all. Still a nice experiment though. Maybe next time I'll just need to solely use MSC instead of testers. I don't know. Now, we're finally going to give her hair. I brush out this pretty color I have that matches her eyebrows. I try to keep it as long as I can to hopefully braid it later. Then we attach with hot glue, 1 strand at a time. I stagger my strands a little to try to make the scalp less visible. I forgot to record me finishing this up, but once I get to the part at the top, I have to strategically place strands, folding some over on themselves in order to not show any of the glue. Next, I do a little styling. I give her a nice, long braid. It was a weird balancing act doing this, trying to pull hard enough to get a somewhat tight braid, but not so hard as to pull off the strands. Plus, it was a literal balance act to not let her fall off her spray can chair. She looks cute so far. I love her. Did you think we were done, though? Of course not! We've still got a lot of accessories to make her, starting with the scarf. I cut a 9" by 2" rectangle out of an old t-shirt. I had Elusive here join me for this part. She's my baby. I love her. Then I sew up the long side, making a tube of sorts. Then I turn it inside out, make some fringe cuts on the ends, and now Mouser here has a scarf. Next, we're making her a simple satchel. First, cut out some more of that fake leather, and then we sew it into a little pocket-like shape. I did my stitching on the good sides without turning it inside out for a neat effect. I also sewed on a little ribbon strap and some clasps. That's a weird word to say. Anyways, it's cute, ain't it? It was a little small to go across the torso though, but worn this way, it still works well. Now, I did have some concept art I drew of a staff, but last minute I changed my plans dramatically. My original plan was to sculpt some kind of branch-looking staff out of epoxy and wires, then cover the area with tissue paper and paint. Just before starting that, though, I figured out something else, which should be a lot less time-consuming and look cooler. When I was younger, I made this quote-unquote sword out of a random stick I found on the ground. It looks neat, but it doesn't really have any function, and it's been sitting in the back of a drawer forever, so I think it's time to give it new life. I'd love to use the texture here on the handle, though it seems like it's just a little too thick for Mousey to hold. Maybe one day. For now though, I cut at about 7 inches from the tip of the blade and whittle it down to make it a little more round. I try to make a little dent in the top for a stone to fit. Next, I pick out a cool looking rock and then rough up one corner of it. Then I cut a few pieces of craft wire almost twice as long as our stick. Then we break out the epoxy again. I mix it thoroughly, and then stick the rock on top of the stick, and then the wires and bottom of the stick into a haphazardly made base. And it worked! Now, I take the wires and try to wrap them around the stick and make it look all cool and mystical. Then we sand down the base a little and try to make it a little more narrow and clean. Afterwards, I hot glue some ribbon onto the handles. Under the ribbon, I try to apply a decent amount of hot glue to help secure the wires a little bit better. Off camera, I made a few extra things to go along with this whole setup. For starters, the spellbook based off the one in Wizard101. Originally, it was an old Mayberry Street miniature book I had gotten as a dorky, miniature-obsessed kid. It was found with some old toys, and it was kind of tacky for some reason, like, kind of sticks to your fingers. But a couple of coats of Mod Podge seemed to lessen the problem. This potion was simple. It was just a charm bottle with some paints mixed inside. I used these ones specifically. I'm absolutely in love with these tiny spell cards. I decided this gal would main life with a little bit of ice and shadow. I got the card images for Wizard101 Central, and surprisingly, they were already just the right size. The back of the cards are from the default picture for the treasure card display. I had to trim and shrink that image down a little for it to work right. By the way, don't mind all the eyes. I got another project coming up and I wanted to save on paper. Then you just print and cut them out, take a glue stick to the back, and stick those card pieces together. I mean, I've already made all mine, but you can see what I mean here from the example, right? And now, to the outro. Hello, it's my baby. Hi. Don't mind the messy desk. Yeah. So, it is currently the day after Christmas, so yeah, this doll ended up taking a while. Plus, there was a lot of procrastination and I guess, like, busyness around the holidays, so yeah, you probably won't be seeing her until 2022. Wow, 2022 is the thing actually coming. Anyways, yes. So, I finally got a name for this girl. Anais Cedarsteps. I don't know, I just think that it fits in with a lot of the other names I've seen. And I don't know what kind of wood this staff is made out of. I genuinely have no clue. It's just a random twig I found on the ground and turned into a sword years ago. But I don't know. I think it's fitting. And yeah, I've tried to imagine what she would be as a boss in Wizard101 because I'm a dork. And as you can see from the cards that I've given her, let me just get them out. So I'm thinking she would very much be a life wizard or a life boss with a little bit of ice and a little bit of ice magic. And also shadow pips because, yeah, that happens a lot in Chrysalis. We know this. I'm in love with these cards, and whenever I realized I could do this, like, actually make teeny tiny whiz cards, it just blew my mind. Gosh, my fingers look rough. Anyways, yes, I'm in love with her, and I hope that you are too. And, don't leave yet because, yeah, I made a little photo shoot, and I really want y'all to see it. So, yeah, cut to that. I hope y'all love Anais here as much as I do. It's been amazing to work on her, and she came out perfectly. Like, look at that face. She could steal my lunch money, and I'd thank her. Anyways, I hope you like her as much as I do. Any more photography I do of her can be found on my Twitter or maybe Instagram. Down in the description below is where you'll find those. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again. Bye!